Kesteven was born in 1947 by a load of mates who'd finished the war and just wanted to play rugby, and bless them for it.
After the war, they started playing for Bourne. There was a Bourne Rugby Club. And then they decided that was ridiculous going all that way with Derek Smith. So then they started playing with John Nightingale at Stoke Rochford.
And from there on, they started at playing at Stoke, or changing at Stoke Rochford, played at various grounds, and eventually came here in about 57, I think, when they first came to Woodnook.
The club didn't have any girls, no women, no kids. It was all about 3 teams of hairy-arse blokes with 70s haircuts getting drunk and having a magnificent time.
Well, when I started, we had a sunken bath down there. There was a log fire somewhere here, and there was a diesel generator. And I used to come up on a Saturday morning to play and bring 5-gallon drums of red diesel up there for the generator, to start the generator. And if they put too much power on it, the lights used to dim.
My abiding memory of the club was the bath, which was probably where the shop is now. And when I say bath, that's the loosest possible term you could have to describe it.
And the bath was a square, sunken grey bath, and it was, I'm sure it would be deemed a health hazard in these days. But
you probably get a good, what's the matter? You probably get 30 people, and you'd be scrubbing your back for 20 minutes, and you realise it's not your back.
The standards we had in Kesteven back in my early playing days were incredible. I mean, fire brigade used to deliver water. We used to have a generator to heat up the bath. The bath was cold. I mean, and it was a bath, no showers. It was just unbelievable. Bloody marvellous.
We improved matters considerably with a couple of, almost in comparison, Olympic swimming pools that were built down the far end of the club. And again, certainly remember sitting in there with a tray with a hot meal on it, several of us having us teas in the bath, and that probably wouldn't, I wouldn't say hold water these days. That's probably stretching the story too far, but
like any local rugby club at the time, facilities were pretty indifferent, but the training was pretty intense. The game time was fantastic. Everybody was 100%. There were no messing about. It was, you pulled the shirt on, you gave everything, you committed to the whole season.
It was one family, but that family consisted of 30, 40, 50 hairy-arse blokes who had a love for rugby, each other and beer.
The club is what it is today from what it, where it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's got a good foundation. I remember when the club bought the extra fields, I remember standing on a bloody grader, levelling off the fields, trying to get them into a playable surface, planting the hedges. It was a great team effort on and off the field.
I think the club's grown. That's not down to the current management team. That's down to the people that have been here before as well. But everyone's worked really hard to get it to where it was. And I think each year we're all trying to pull together to try and make a little bit more difference and a little bit more difference. But it's a journey, it's not a destination. And whoever takes the club over from the people that look after it today, it'll be their duty then to keep improving and keep improving. And
it's a monumental change and a fantastic change, to be really, really good. So it's much more welcoming to not just, in those days it was a rugby team. That's all it frequented. Nowadays there's lots of family, lots of kids, wives, partners. You know, which is only a massive benefit.
It's interesting because I've not been a part of the club in terms of committee for, what is it, 4 years now, and it does change dramatically, and in a good way, because it's moved from being a traditional rugby club, which was based on men and beer, not very much training perhaps, and now it's a whole lot more inclusive with all the different age groups and girls and women's rugby, etc. So it's moved on, and it's embraced the 21st century, which is a good thing.
I mean, I did 5 years as chairman, and the juniors were then starting then, and that sort of changed the club. A lot of the older boys didn't like the juniors, but they were I could see that was probably going to be the future of the club.
Very much an independent section of the club. The two clubs, effectively, the junior, and at that time they referred to themselves as the junior club, and we were the senior club, and that was something that I was never comfortable with.
I can't even remember when the minis section started, but I've got a vague memory of when I was certainly captain, that the minis were around, only because Rob Sheridan and Dan Turner used to clean our boots for 50p each after the game when they were little lads.
The first mini player from '94 joining the senior side, at the early 2000s shows that development has happened.
One of the biggest things for me is when you meet somebody who you met as a 6-year-old, and now they're a hairy-ass bloke, and they'll come up and you'll look at them for a couple of seconds and go, hang on a minute, and they go, yeah, it's me. And that feeling of togetherness that you had in that squad in that period of time, it doesn't go. And that, that isn't a moment, that's just a feeling that the game gives you and the club gives you.
I mean, Sunday mornings is just amazing up here. I used to come up and ref when I ref back in the early 2000s, and now I come up with my grandson, obviously, and it's just, you can't believe how many kids are up here.
Ultimately, it's the minis and the juniors of this club that will be the seniors in the future, so it's really important to listen to them and understand what they need from the club as well.
But it's the fact that we've managed to create it and build in it as one club, one family, and that we should never ever lose that. It's absolutely vital that we keep that going.
They talk about rugby building character. It doesn't build it, it reveals it. And I think the game is a beautiful thing. I think what this club does, and it's not just now, because we have a really good bunch of volunteers and committee and board and like, as we've always had. But we do it right. We live the values, and if we think something needs changing, we'll change it.
I think it's a genuine enjoyment of playing with your mates. Whether that's with your little mates at under sixes or the big mates in the first team, that's what's been consistent. We can win things, you can lose things, but actually get in the bar and have a beer, that's it. That is the most consistent thing about this club, is that you are playing with your mates. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are at rugby, you're playing with your mates.
The bond that you form if you play for Kesteven There's a unbreakable bond, I think, that you form, and yeah, I think that willingness to give everything. And we're not the best club in the world, never going to be. We've played at the same level for many years, probably the same level ever since I've been involved here. But it's the commitment, I think, is the most important thing for me. You know, come to training, turn up on match day, give everything. And if you lose, which we do, so be it. But being part of the club, I think, is fantastic.
You spend thousands of pounds of business people telling you how to create a cohesive team. This was the most cohesive team I ever played in. You know, everybody was aligned. We kind of got together at 11 in the morning, went home at 11 at night, and in between, everybody had the same kind of goal.
This changing room, people go to university, they go to this, they do that. This changing room is the university of life. And you see people and meet people go through life that have never been in a changing room, and you know who they are. And you know the people who have been in a changing room, because you can't escape.
Yeah.
You're here to do your job. You're here to do your job properly as a team. End of.
We've always been very proud to be part of Kesteven. You know, I used to be very fortunate to be able to have to stand up and do talks at work, and I'd always use rugby in general and Kesteven in particular when I was trying to get something across. You know, if you do things like this, like we do at rugby, where we have a big team doing this and we work together, and that sort of thing comes across quite well in a commercial business sense. So I was always very, very proud to, and still am, even if, you know, I didn't pay my membership until February of this year. And that's an old age thing, when I thought I'd paid it in September.
I think the club's going from strength to strength. Being up here on a Sunday, I mean, it's absolutely manic. You know, you've got all the juniors, and then you've got the girls and the ladies coming up after. Rugby, you know, and you look on TV, women's rugby's in the headlines. You know, it's something we've got to embrace.
It amused me the other week I was out there. There was about 10 of the ladies' team out there, all slugging pints, and I'm thinking, yeah, that used to be us 30 or 40 years ago. Brilliant. It amused me, that did. Yeah. I was thinking, yeah, right, okay.
We've certainly, the mini section has grown massively, but I think over the last 5 years, so 2017 onwards, it's hugely changed with the introduction of the girls and the introduction of the women. You know, and I know there are some club members that, you know, haven't, you know, the longer in the tooth club members that haven't overly embraced it, and I generally think they're missing out.
The ladies' first game was very special against Sleaford. That was quite something. For all sorts of reasons, for them, mainly the players who were taking part, but also the supporters and the families, to go from, they were all novices pretty much, who'd seen the game played, most of them were mums, and to see them to run out, play and compete was mind-blowing for me.
I had a great time all pre that, but actually, if we're going to develop into a modern day society, you know, being able to give a town like Grantham the ability for women to play rugby and girls to play rugby, I think it's quite special.
Yeah, I come home as frequently as I can. Whenever there's a game, I try and get here, because this team, even though it's obviously not as high level as university rugby is, the team spirit, and even when we lose, everyone's still at the bar afterwards drinking. It's just like none other, really. First
training session, 4 girls turned up in September 2017, and that was an under-13s team. The following year, we introduced an under-15s team. The following year to that, we introduced the under-18s team, and then this year, we've included a kind of a semi-under-11s team. So we've gone from having 4 girls to roughly 60 girls in the girls section.
And then on the progression side, you know, it's been lovely to see more and more people now going into professional rugby, either through the Tigers DPP programme or the girls, for example, through Loughborough Lightning, and more people attending those sort of professional development programmes.
We've got 2 girls in the under-18s that are on the England pathway for the Centre of Excellence that are already in it. We've got 2 others, so that's Phoenix Robinson and Izzy Russell. Beth, my daughter, and Neve have got trials for C of E coming up in a couple of weeks' time, in June, again on the England pathway. And we've got one of our under-15s is in the NLD.
And then, of course, you know, Ollie Chesham, which is a fantastic story of one of our young lads who didn't go through those channels of Leicester Tigers, DPP, or, you know, the sort of standard traditional channels of achieving professional rugby. He went away, worked really hard on his game, got picked up by Nottingham, as you guys know, and then Leicester Tigers picked him up from there. And now, I mean, amazing. In 2 years, he's kind of played for England, which who would have thought it?
In my last year at Kesteven, I was in and out doing stuff for NLD. Then went on to Midlands and did England counties, and then I thought that was me finished. I'd just come back and play club rugby here and work for my family. But luckily, in the sort of summer off-season, Nottingham approached and said, do I want to do a pre-season trial? So I did 6 weeks with them, sort of just gave it a bash, see how it went, and they kept me on for the year. And then sort of midway through that year, Tigers picked me up right before COVID cut everything short. And then I've been at Tigers ever since, yeah. When you start playing rugby and you think you've got a shot at making it professional, that's what you aim for, is England and, you know, Lions. So if someone had said to me at the start of the year that I'd have debuted for England, I'd have laughed in their face, sort of thing. You know, it's something I wanted to do, but I didn't think I'd do it this year. But yeah, no, it's been incredible. I train with some of the England lads anyway, like Genji and Ben Youngs, who are obviously massive names. But then, you know, it's still intimidating. It's one thing training with a couple, but, you know, being in a group full of lads that don't play for England, when you're there in an environment stacked with internationals, you know, like Courtney Laws, Genge, Marla, you know, Lenny, it's, yeah, a bit surreal. They're people that you used to watch on TV and, you know, I know it sounds cliche, but dreamt of playing alongside, and now I was there, you know, sort of training and mucking in with them. But yeah, it was intimidating, but they're like just similar to here, really. You know, it doesn't change. Everyone just welcomes you in, you know, and you crack straight on and you find a way to fit in. Yeah. If I hadn't have got that opportunity with Nottingham, I'd still be here playing now, and Ben would probably still be playing. So, you know, I'd never dreamt for 1 minute that I'd have gone on to do what I've done. So yeah, no, grassroots is massive. Like I've spoken about before. You know, everyone starts at the local village club. I went to Sleaford for a year, and the team folded. And then a lot of my school friends were at Newark, so they dragged me down there. And then I decided that rugby wasn't really what I enjoyed, so I gave it up for a year. And then, like I say, Ben brought me down here one night, and you know, I found that I actually was half decent at it and stuck at it. But everyone starts at a grassroots club. You know, every professional that plays the game now started somewhere like Kesteven. You know, and they always, you know, all professionals talk about, you know, how much that helped them, and I'm no different. I have huge credit to not just Kesteven, obviously that you were the biggest part, but all the local clubs that, you know, gave me an opportunity and, you know, gave me a taste for rugby, yeah.
But there are so many other players that have come through this club. You know, looking at President's Day, and I think I said afterwards that I had a comment about, look, what we've lost. We haven't lost it. It's what we've given to the game. Kesteven have given to the games. We've invested in those players, and now they're giving back to the game as a whole. And I think, again, that's something we can be very proud of.
No, it was 50-50. It was playing rugby and then going out afterwards. And we obviously haven't shaken off the ability to be stupid. Even without playing rugby, we're still able to be stupid. We just can't play rugby. Well, no, I'm fair. There's people like Martin Parker who are still stupid enough to be playing rugby, but all credit to him.
Yeah. Probably should have mentioned about having actually played. So I played Henry's first senior game away in some Derbyshire hellhole. It was on his 17th birthday, and I gave him his first try-scoring pass. So first senior, I remember it as clear as day. You know, it was 2 on 4. So it was us two, me and Henry on 4. I saw 3 big blokes and went, "There you go, son, you deal with that." And he literally skipped round them and dived. One of those rugby league dives, arm down, scored the try. Referee didn't have a clue whether he scored it or not, but looked that good. It was brilliant. So gave his first ever senior try-scoring pass on his 17th birthday. There is a camaraderie that develops that you just don't get anywhere else. And, you know, playing at Woodnook, it's the coldest place on earth. You shiver together, you fight together, you have each other's backs. You pick them up when they're down, they pick you up. Yeah, but that you know, it's you know, it's the rugby's fantastic, but the community's so much better. Yeah.
It with the camaraderie, that was one thing that stood out for me. The camaraderie. We'd play as hard as we could, win, lose or draw. The social side of it was fantastic. We'd always be in the clubhouse after, celebrating, winning or losing.
We came second in the County Cup. We stole the County Cup. We went to the Blue Pig and we decided to do the naked conga around the pub. Yeah. And there was 2 Americans sat in the corner and they went, "Geez, you guys, what do you do when you win?" I got a phone call the next day saying, "Gee, where's the County Cup?" I said, "I've no idea." I said, "If it's not back by 12 o'clock, we're banned for the next 5 years from the County Cup."
One of the great skills of selection is not selecting people. So I would go to selection committee and the first team would say, "Have you got any?" No, I haven't got anybody. What about this Graham Smith we've heard that started playing? Well, no, not yet, because he's only 19. He probably needs time. I think I hung on to him for 2 more weeks. But even that seemed a triumph. But no, it was, that's probably an exaggeration, but we did manage to hang on to a few people. I think Andy Sheardown was another regular third teamer before he had his renaissance as a prop in the first team.
I mean, he started playing up here when he was only 17. Really? Yeah. So he didn't retire till he was, I don't know how old he was, in his 40s anyway. So it was a long, long time. So he's supported the club and he's got a lot out of, you know, he got a lot out of it, which was the main thing really. And so it's lovely to see that Robert's doing exactly the same. Yeah.
It's like Andy Sheardown, you know, I used to second row behind him and I just knew, I used to just love that feeling, just second row behind him, the power, the strength as well. It was just beautiful to be part of really.
I go out regularly with a group of ladies now that we met at the rugby club and we still go out every 5 weeks or so. Yeah. People like Tina Dingley and Nikki Turner and Julia Allen, Simon played up here, and we all know each other through rugby, which is lovely, yeah. And I feel now that in the situation that I am, I can still come up and I'll know a lot of people, and everybody will make me feel welcome, and yeah, it's lovely.
I can't understand why the modern player stops playing and stops coming up. You know, it should be classed as a crime against humanity and they should be punished within an inch of their lives. But I probably deemed to be a bit harsh. But for me, it was like a second home.
In many ways, it's more than just a club. It's a rugby family.
You don't need any rugby talent. You need to be able to drink, you need to be able to laugh, you need to have fun. That's it. That's what Kesteven is.
It's just a wonderful place with wonderful people, and hopefully it'll remain that way for many years to come, perhaps another 75 years and beyond.
Look, it's we've had our challenges over the last couple of years with COVID and lots of numbers and stuff, but if you just look at if you come down on a Sunday, and see what it's like, and you'll see loads of happy, smiling faces. So for me, as long as the minis and the juniors and all of the other teams at the club are happy in the rugby offering and all love the club, then I think the future for this club is very bright.
We're starting an under fives team, and do you know what they're called? The Small Blacks. I mean, come on, isn't that brilliant? So if we're going to get them at that age and bring them through with a love of blackness, you know, we can't fail.
Yeah, he was a marvellous man, and I mean the club wouldn't be the club without him, and you know, he was very much part of the setting up of the club and leading it through all the various changes all the way through.